What is going on, guys? ScotianCanadien here, long time no chat, eh? It's been a while since I've done a video. I apologize for that. Life has been crazy. I got a cold right now, so I'm going to apologize in advance for my sniffles. But today we have a lot to talk about in terms of the Montreal Canadiens. There's been a ton going on since I talked to you last, and I'm going to bring it all to you right now. Stick around because I'm going to save the best for it last. And I'm going to try and get back on the wagon here doing reaction videos after games. So first things first, Karl Alzner was put on waivers and then assigned to the Laval Rocket by the Montreal Canadiens. Good decision by Marc Bergevin after what was a pretty awful signing just a couple off seasons ago. I think it was a bit of a panic move by Marc Bergevin once Markov dipped to Russia, and all of a sudden we're left with a big hole on defense, and he just went after the best guy available. Bad contract. There's 4 years left at upwards of $5 million cap hit. It's rough. Yeah, Julien said they're putting him on waivers because they don't think he'll be claimed, and they don't want to lose one of the other guys on the roster who they, someone like Agostino, who has now passed that deadline. Now that he's played a certain amount of games in Montreal, he has to hit waivers before he can go back down. They think they'd lose him. They probably figure they'd lose a guy like Mike Riley if they put him on waivers. So you just can't do that. So it was chosen to be Karl Alzner. Good decision. It shows that Marc Bergevin is willing to admit his faults, because that was a bad signing a couple years ago. Now, I do think Karl has played better this season than he was last season. He was awful last season. Absolutely brutal. But this season, in his limited time, he's been decent. But the problem is, when he is at his best right now, he is still not that effective. He's pretty one-dimensional. Even as a bottom-pairing defenseman, he really doesn't have a whole lot to offer. Now, I don't want to sit here and rag on Karl too much, because he seems like a great guy in the locker room, seems like a great guy outside of hockey, family man, and he's handled this all in stride with a great attitude. And he went down to Laval, showed up, scored a goal in his first game, so good on him. Hopefully he and his agent can find him a landing spot somewhere in the NHL. But until then, he'll get a ton of playing time in Laval, and they need it too, because they've been struggling, and he could be a very helpful piece to them for a good chunk of the season before Karl finds another spot in the NHL, if he does. But I do think his time with Montreal Canadiens, the big club, is likely over. So that's that. Next up, Victor Mete was assigned to Laval. I think this is another good decision. I really like this kid. He had a great season last year, surprise. Then he went to the World Juniors, did absolutely fantastic defensively for Canada at the World Juniors. And this season, he just hasn't progressed. It's not that he's gotten worse or he has some sort of, issue attributed to him. No, that's not it. He just hasn't progressed. And he's kind of getting outmatched in battles by bigger guys, because he is a small fella. He's getting outmatched, and he's just not getting a lot of minutes because of that. Now, in saying that, he's been one of Montreal's best defensive defenders just because of his speed and his defensive stick. He leads the team in plus-minus, if I'm not mistaken. So there are some good things there. It's just that where he's getting outmatched defensively in some situations, and his offensive game is non-existent because it just hasn't developed at all. Down in Laval, he didn't have to clear waivers. That's another thing. So Montreal gets a roster spot, and he doesn't have to go through waivers. So they can send him down just like that. He'll get a ton of playing time in Laval. Yoel Bouchard has already said he's going to play him in all situations, PK, power play, and a ton 5-on-5. So hopefully he can take a good chunk of time, see some improvement, get some confidence going in his offensive game in the pros down there. And once again, that's a huge addition to Laval. They could use it right now. They have him paired with Brett Lernout for now. That's a pretty interesting pair. Brett Lernout is a defensive defenseman, big fella. Victor Mete could complement him very well down there. Another interesting pair could be Cale Fleury, right-handed Cale Fleury. Once he returns from injury, he's injured right now. Get Mete paired with him. That could be a very dynamic pair as well. Fleury, a two-way defenseman, young, and then Mete, who also two-way defenseman. But yeah, good decision by Montreal. I'm not really sure if he'll be down there the whole season. I could see Mete being called up later on, but I think he'll get a good chunk of time down in Laval to get some playing time, get his confidence going. Next up, today, Nikita Scherbak was put on waivers. Bit of a shocker. I think the Canadiens were trying to avoid this as long as they can, and they were really trying to give this guy a chance to show what he could do. Not at the NHL level. He hasn't played a regular season game yet for Montreal. It seems like they wanted him to earn it, and he just hasn't. He just hasn't earned it. He had a stint down in Laval, had 1 goal in 5 games. Yoel Bouchard questioned his consistency, his work ethic when he was down there. I just don't think the Canadiens are that impressed with him and his progression. So, you know what? It seems like they're not that concerned if they lose him on waivers. It's been unfortunate because that's yet another first-round pick that could potentially be a bust or at least a, non-factor for the Habs. First-round pick from just a few years ago. He's 22 years old, so I cannot see him clearing waivers. I think a team will be more than willing to take a chance on this guy, see if they can whip him into shape in terms of his work ethic, find some consistency with him. But yeah, I'll be shocked if he clears waivers and ends up down in Laval. We'll have to wait and see. Tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern, we will find that out. But yeah, a bit of a weird one. I kind of would have liked to see him maybe get a shot to play the regular season this year, but there's got to be a reason why he wasn't given that opportunity. Whether it be his training habits, his attitude. That's a big one this year, attitude. If he doesn't have that right attitude, they're just not going to give him a shot. Maybe they're sending a message to some of the other younger guys. You know what? If you're not going to commit, then we're not interested in you. And clearly there was no trade value for him because they would have traded him, even if it was just for a late round pick or something like that. All other teams also may have known Montreal's kind of handcuffed in the situation and figured if we don't trade for the guy, they're eventually gonna have to put him on waivers anyway, and we'll just claim him. So expect to see Nikita Scherbak claimed here in the next day. So that's that. Another big piece of news there, and now the crappy part of this video here. Montreal is on a 5-game losing skid. It's awful. Results-wise, it's awful, but the games have been very entertaining. Outside of the game against New Jersey, Montreal has been in every game, whether it be coming from behind to bring it within 1 or being tied late in the game and allowing a goal. They have been in games. They have been very entertaining to watch. Would like to get a few more points. They lost in overtime against Washington, got a point there. Lost in overtime against Buffalo, got another point there. That was a big loss. That was a really big loss, Montreal losing to Buffalo. They're now 0-1-2 against them on the season. That could come back to bite them in the ass at the end of the season where they are a divisional rival. Yeah, so rough losing skid. The last game they played was against Carolina. Put 49 shots on Curtis McElhinney, who played an absolutely fantastic game, but they just couldn't bury the puck. Delorier had a few empty net chances, and a few other guys were really close to putting the puck in the net and just could not do it. The 2 goals that Carolina had, one was deflected off a skate, one was a tip right in front of the net. So you can't blame those losses on Carey Price either. And even Carey allowed 4 or 5 goals in the game against New Jersey, but the defense let him down hard that game. Schlemko did not look very good in that game. I've been hard on Schlemko, but he's gotten a little bit better since I've been, hard on him. I'm really still not a fan of this guy, and I have no idea why they decided to pair him with Weber to start. It made no sense whatsoever. They have recently changed that. They got Kulak paired with Weber. I would love to eventually see Mike Riley there with Weber, especially now that Victor Mete's been sent down, because that's who I figured they'd put with Weber was Victor Mete. Now I got my sights on Mike Riley as being Weber's partner. But similar to where Scherbak was probably expected to earn his time, they're probably doing the same thing with Riley. They want him to earn his time. He's been a bit inconsistent in terms of defensive ability. His offense is there, but the defensive situations have been a little bit inconsistent from him, and Julien wants to see some more consistency there. I get that reasoning, but at some point you just gotta give him, let go of the leash. The guy's an offensive player. He's a puck mover, and that's what the Habs are lacking on the left side. So at some point, you have to teach your lesson, but then you have to give the guy some room to grow and learn and make mistakes but they need his offensive ability in that top four, and I think he'd be a great partner for Shea Weber. Now, in the meantime, Kulak could also be a good partner for Weber, but I'm not sure he has the same offensive upside as Mike Riley. To be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Kulak, but he has looked good for the Habs in his few games that he has played since his call-up from Laval. So it'll be interesting to see that pairing. Yeah, so that leads me to the last, one of the last things we need to talk about. One of the best things we need to talk about. Shea Weber is back, baby, and he looks fantastic. Oh my God. Didn't miss a beat. Played 25 minutes in that game against Carolina. Skating very, very well. This guy isn't a flashy skater. He doesn't have lights out speed. But when he needs to turn on the jets, he can. He's got a powerful stride. And he's all over the ice. All over the ice, making great plays defensively, making those little smart plays. And it's so nice to see him back on the ice. Yeah, he had an assist in that game against Carolina, and a couple other chances early that could have led to points for him. He was wiring them on net. I noticed he was shooting a lot of them low. I was kind of expecting them to shoot a few low and then eventually wire one top cheese. He didn't get that chance. I think he had 3 nice low shots on Curtis McElhinney, who, good on him, he made the saves, but those were some nasty shots. We are going to see some very nice plays and nice goals from Shea Weber. And hopefully one of them will be tonight against Henrik Lundqvist and the New York Rangers, who have been playing very well. This is a team similar to Montreal prior to the season beginning. We're expected to be absolutely garbage and to be rebuilding. Now they are in 3rd in the Metropolitan Division. That division looks very strange right now. Yeah, so the Rangers tonight, it's going to be a huge test for Montreal again because the Rangers always play hard against the Habs. There's a bit of a rivalry going on there, and yeah, should be a great game. Hoping we can end this 5-game losing streak. That would be fantastic because we are really starting to drop in the standings. Buffalo is on fire. They're now 1st in the Atlantic. Toronto 2nd, Tampa's up there still, and Boston is getting a ton of wins despite missing 6 of their defensemen, 6 of their key defensemen. Guys like Chara, McAvoy are all out, but they're stepping up. Bergeron's out too, and they're still getting those points in the standings. They're finding a way to do it despite their injuries. Just how Montreal was doing earlier in the season. They got to get back to that. And yeah, a win tonight would be massive. We need a big game from Carey Price. Hopefully we'll get a Weber clap bomb. And big game from Domi and Drouin will be good too. Let's light the lamp tonight. Let's score some goals like we were earlier in the season. That would be great to see. Couple injury updates before I let you go. Byron is returning tonight. That's another huge addition back to the Habs. It was ever since he lost that they've been kind of faltering defensively. He was a big loss defensively, and he's also a big loss offensively because he was a great winger to play with Jesperi Kotkaniemi. So great to have him back tonight. That speed, that shot, that ability on the PK. Can't wait to watch him play. Noah Juleson practiced yesterday with a cage on. Hopefully we'll see him back on the ice soon with a cage. We've also been losing a ton since he got injured. It's all losses. So he has been great for us this season. It'll be huge to get him back and have Weber, Petrie, and Juleson on that right side. It will make up for how weak the Habs are on the left. So hopefully he'll be back soon. We'll have to wait and see. And Yoel Armia is anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks away from returning. Another big loss, specifically defensively and on 5-on-5 play. Fantastic player. Can't wait to get him back. It would be fantastic to finally watch this team play at near 100% for the first time in years. It's brutal. Ever since last season, the first game of the season, this team has been injury ravished, and it's been non-stop. But that's the name of the game in hockey, and that's why you need depth, and that's why everybody needs to step up and play as a unit. I still like what we're seeing from the Habs this year. They're entertaining. They're even in this last 5-game losing skid, all the games except for that New Jersey game have been 1-goal losses. So here we go. Let's hope for the best, and I hope for a good game tonight. It's good chatting you guys. Good chatting with you guys again, and we'll talk to you later. Go Habs, go baby! Woo!